All right, to get officially started, can you introduce yourself, Alexis, and tell us kind of your experience with Microsoft Intune?
Yeah. So my name is Alexis Johnson. I've been doing MDM since I was 21. So for almost almost 8 years now. I have worked with Microsoft as a contractor. I was in EMS, so Enterprise Mobility Security, SME, and I worked with their fast track customers to get them started. So I spent a lot of time in Intune just building basic configurations with a bunch of different people. Um, so I have experience in healthcare, retail. I did some work in government when I was there, and then education as well. So like I started out MDM in education. So I had a couple. My main focus there was retail, healthcare, and government. Actually, I had everything but schools when I was at Microsoft.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So quite a bit of experience across the board.
I try. I also have
Um,
experience with Jamf, SODI, Workspace ONE. I think that's it.
Perfect. Oh, quick side note, did you record locally or start the recording locally in QuickTime?
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
We're good to go on that front. Cool. So I'm going to dive into some questions about Intune just so I can get a better understanding of how it works as I'm putting together this review. So my first question is going to be about macOS updates. So is there any way we can deploy a macOS update through an MDM command similar to what we can do in Jamf Pro?
Yeah, so they do support DDM. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. They have plenty of documentation on that as well. So you have the ability to do they call it a managed software update policy. And with that in DDM, you can do auto, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. Okay. In DDM, you can enforce an update deadline. So you can, just the same way you can in Jamf, like you can require that they deploy at this time or they're updated by this time or they're not compliant. You're also able to they have like an update feature like pre-DDM where you're able to send a specific latest update command to the devices.
Yeah, where do you do that? Just so I can figure that out. In
Um, go,
or if you want to
well,
just link me to documentation as well.
yeah, of course. I
So
should have
there's like
logged
I've
into the
seen if
instance.
I go to like devices and then Mac OS and then configuration profiles, there's like or no, update policies for Mac OS. Is that what you're talking about?
So manage software. This is the one thing I hate about their documentation. Manage macOS updates policies in Intune. Blah blah blah. Configure the policy under create profile. Update policies for macOS. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes. So that would be how you do it. And then that one
Okay.
will allow you to download and install the update, download only, install immediately, notify only, install later. Um, you can set the max level of uh, default declines that they can do. And it'll prompt the user once a day. And then if they meet your maximum, you can go ahead and
I'll
cancel.
just share my screen and go over this.
Yeah, I was
Understand.
gonna pull up your instance.
Yeah, so right here we've got so this specific policy that you set is doing DDM.
Mm-hmm.
When I set this up, this is being deployed through DDM. Okay. I didn't know if it was being deployed through like the install update binary, kind of like similar to what Jamf does if you deploy it through a policy, or if it was being done through DDM. So that's good to know.
Yeah. I believe the other way would be like if you can you pull up your computer?
Oh, yeah.
I think the other way would be like just like in Jamf where you would hit the 3 dots right up on the right. No, I don't see yours. Yeah, right there. Sorry. No, it does not give you the option to update.
Yeah, I didn't see any way to be able to like
Force an
deploy
update.
it, but it looks like okay. But if you do it on that schedule, it does do DDM.
Yeah, so they do support DDM.
Cool. I
Oh,
noticed one.
you can do remember the settings catalog that we looked at last time?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess that's where you can see the other you can set the
The
other
other
power.
way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
And this way, if you do it through the settings catalog, that's going to be essentially the same thing as if we deploy a configuration profile through Jamf Pro. It's going to be through the settings catalog, I believe. I don't think they have a template for it, although they might. All right, so macOS updates. This is going to do the same thing as a configuration profile through Jamf Pro,
I don't
which,
know why they have it broken out in 2 different places. I don't really love that.
oh,
But
declarative.
oh, you see how
Oh, okay. So we can set a target version.
Mhm.
So this is,
With
so if you
DDM,
want
but if
to get a specific macOS version, this is how you would do that.
right. And then the other option with the system update software update, I think the only option that is like the latest OS, according
Yeah,
to their documentation.
this stuff, all it does is it basically turns on what are called automatic updates on the OS level,
Oh,
which doesn't really ever update it. Like even if you have automatic updates turned
no,
on,
the user has to still go through.
yeah, you can continually defer those forever.
Right.
But it will keep nagging you to do it. And if your computer is plugged in overnight and isn't asleep, then it will go ahead and force those updates. But if you close the lid each time, or put it to sleep, it won't push the updates. So if it's a laptop. Um, but yeah, I didn't know about this. This is good to know. So you can focus on a specific version
Mhm.
and have a target date. So this is different too. Okay. Details URL. Okay, so this is interesting. Good to know. I think that's pretty much it on macOS updates, right?
Okay, cool. Um,
So I think my next question is going to be about groups in Intune. Do you
yeah,
have a grasp of how groups work?
I used to. Give me 2 seconds. All I got to do is see it.
So yeah, my question about groups were, is there anything kind of similar to smart groups within Jamf Pro? And smart groups are groups where you can have criteria,
Like static criteria.
anything within the computer. Like they've got hundreds of different criteria that you can use to like focus on specific computers. Um, do you have anything like that in Intune?
So they do have ways to target specific device groups to create blah, 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 blah. Let's create a group because their documentation says categorize devices into groups and Intune. Configure device categories.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Device categories, choose the device category, add new category, enter the name of the new category, such as HR. Next. Scope tags. Scope tags. I know that was one of your questions too. They tie together.
Yeah, what are scope tags? I don't know how those work.
Stupid. You're stupid. I mean, they're just regular tags. Like they tag the devices like a group. Enable hardware-based isolation. Don't care about Microsoft Edge.
Yeah. So just for instance, if I go to groups here, if I'm trying to make a group, the only thing I can see in order to make a group is this groups part. And if I go to new group, it can be a security group or a Microsoft Office 365 group. I can enter a name, description,
Dynamic
member
user
type.
device.
I don't think any of these matter. But this just looks like, yeah, this group isn't dynamic at all. It's like a static group that I can put users
Anything
in.
in. Yeah, so scope, the way the scope tags work is like it's kind of like roles um in any other console. It's like you can give out permissions based on like that scope tag. So you can also assign groups based on like, or assign profiles based on the scope tags.
So I
Um,
can set this up so that it goes to a specific device or a specific user. But I'm not sure how to set up a group that's dynamic.
go to tenant administration. And then go to roles. You were on it, up a little bit. And then create, or oh, sorry, go to scope tags. Mm-mm.
So I don't want to do that. So, I mean, this doesn't allow me to define any criteria.
Right. I don't think it does.
Yeah, let me see if I go to users, is there a group thing here? No. You just look in a couple different places, test.
I'm checking their documentation.
I'll do a dynamic user. Yeah, dynamic device. We'll see if that works.
Add dynamic query.
So I need to define an owner. So, okay, so here's some dynamic criteria. However, if I'm looking through these, this
Model.
is all going to be, well, there's a couple things that are device level, but account enabled is user, 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 user is rooted. I don't know what that means. Um, device OS type. Okay, so there is some dynamic stuff here. I can see device OS version, device category, device manufacturer.
Manufacturer.
Yeah, so there is some stuff here that I can kind of look through. Device physical IDs, profile type. Okay. So this gives me some stuff to kind of
Dynamic.
look at and compare to Jamf Pro. Obviously, way more limited to what you could than what you can do in Jamf Pro, where they've got hundreds of criteria. But we got some.
Yeah, they do. They also have a lot of like information on REST API. So it looks like API integration is more the focus.
On making groups specifically.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. And then if you do a user group, yeah, and this I think is what I was looking at before. So there is dynamic stuff you can do, but just for users. Okay. Now, I think this brings me to another question that I was curious about, and that is, how do extension attributes work within Microsoft Intune? Because I've seen this, I've seen it in another place called a custom attribute, and now
Right.
here called an extension attribute. But an extension attribute in Jamf Pro allows you to deploy, like basically create extra inventory for a computer. And the most powerful way to do that is through a script where it will pull in inventory into a specific value. Do you know how to set those up?
The extension attributes, like, or setting up the script that pulls in the value.
Yeah, I'll show you where I'm talking about. And maybe this isn't what I think it is, but if I go to macOS and I go to custom attributes, go to add, name, test script, test attribute. We do string integer date, and then it's asking for a script. But I don't know how this script needs to be written. I haven't really tested it out, but I'm wondering if you had any insight on this.
I would assume, and I would think that it would want you to write it like you would in terminal, extending it.
Yeah.
But I think it just wants you to upload the script already created.
Let me try pulling in some type of value into the computer. I'll just do a quick. So within Jamf Pro, you use XML inside of this in a special way. But in here, I'm not sure like what is outputted. Maybe it's just an echo command.
Let me open another one because I have a place for us to go where you can manage the custom attributes. Let me check on attribute scripts. macOS. I forget that you have to specify. Use shell scripts on macOS devices, Intune. Use. Yep, just like you sent it is the way that it should. Devices are managed. Shell scripts begin with or hash exclamation must be valid location. Command line interpreters for the applicable shells are installed. Shell scripts require that Microsoft Intune Management Agent is successfully installed on the macOS device. Shell scripts run in parallel on devices with separate processes. Add. Upload script, browse the shell script file. Must be less than 200 KB in size. That's the article. So like it's saying create a shell script and then upload it.
Searching too long for a very basic string. All right. Logged in user equals this. So this should just return the username of the current logged in user. And then I'm just going to echo logged in user. So this is kind of what I'm assuming will work to be able to output the logged in user, right? So this is like how this theoretically should be set up, and then
Right.
this attribute will show this, right? So let me give that a shot.
And then you just use scope tags to target the specific devices or groups.
User. Well, I haven't really been using scope tags. Scope tags just seem like a way to group together groups. Is that correct?
It's like, it's pretty, yeah, it's kind of like it's just another set of assignments. But sometimes, I mean, it does have different criterias. So
Yeah, I'll just do add all
yeah,
devices because
it's funny because you can add a scope tag to a group so that it'll automatically put them in there and then just select the group. It's kind of counterproductive to have both.
Yeah. Now, and this should just automatically deploy. So there's no way I can actually like tell it like deploy now. It'll just kind of be automatic. Is that correct?
You can set it. It says you can set up the frequency, but you
Custom
could
attribute?
go if you go check in with your computer, it should.
Yeah, how is there a way to like check this computer in?
Yeah, go to devices.
Oh, I go to device. Okay, yeah, through here. So if I go to
Yeah, you have to go somewhere else.
macOS devices, click here, and then click refresh. Is that like sync?
Sync, yeah.
Okay. Now, where does this extension attribute show up? Or this custom attribute?
Properties. Would it show up under properties? It doesn't even tell me. One scope text. Device configuration. No. You'd think it would show up on the main page.
Yeah, what did I call
Oh,
it?
you can monitor the status for all assigned user scripts by choosing scripts. Where is scripts?
Well, this isn't, I mean, I'm uploading a script, but it's really should be like a custom attribute. So I just call it test attribute.
Go to shell scripts real quick. Oh, yeah. That's modified. Can you click the three dots? Does it give you any info? Or those aren't the ones that we sent, right?
Yeah, it's under the custom attributes. This is what I created.
Okay. Shell scripts are that. In review, add summary. Add to save the script. Group, choose the script. Well, no. In Intune, you can monitor the run status of all assigned script for users by choosing one of the following reports.
So maybe I run a report and then I can see it.
You must use. Okay. Custom attributes are defined in business domains. So it says open the the data, oh my God, words are hard. The data catalog in Microsoft Purview portal.
Do I have access to that?
I'm gonna see, I'll log in with my account real quick. I clicked the link. It just takes me to the login page, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, so checked in 11:38, so it should have that somewhere.
I hate two-factor.
Mhm.
I know why we have it, but I hate it. I'll just drop. Oh no, I'm not
If
on
there's
the right.
anything in reports here. If I can see like any assignments or anything. Oh, well, here's something. It says this is scoped to 0 devices. So maybe that's the issue.
Included groups, all devices.
Yeah. If I go back to overview, it just says 0 devices.
You can edit the.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening there. But maybe we can move on from this because it's clearly not even deploying.
It's a time suck. This is, story of the Intune.
Yeah, I am. It is in scope. There is a script. There's no other things I can do here besides that. Okay, cool. We'll move on from that.
Okay.
Maybe figure that one out later. All right, so quite the rabbit hole to go down, but I think this stuff is good to look at because these are things that people will have challenges with that they try to
Right.
use in.
Another one thing I did want to talk about, because I know we're kind of running out of time, was the CA versus compliance.
Yeah. So what's the difference between conditional access and device compliance?
So in order with conditional access, in order to access something, it has to meet like all of the criteria, where compliance is like, oh, this device isn't in your standards and you can choose what to do from there. If it's not within your standards for conditional access, it cannot be accessed. So like if
Okay.
all of the standards and criteria are not met, there's no accessing it. And you can use the compliance policies with conditional access. So, but not vice versa.
Okay. So we just find these again. So is this here? Compliance policies are here. So is this conditional access?
No, so conditional access is under, where are you?
Okay, if
Conditional
I go,
access it might be under, and oh, there we go.
yeah, so there's
Also,
devices and
endpoint security,
conditional access.
which doesn't exist. That's the one thing not the one thing, but that's one of the things that's harder about Intune. Like, why would conditional access be under devices and not under endpoint security?
Oh, I think it's under both, if I remember.
Oh, it is. Okay. Because I was like,
Okay, yes. So if you go to endpoint security, there's both device compliance
you
and
can also do compliance for reporting, right? And so if you do a compliance policy, they're incompliant, and you could just have it like notify you, like they don't have a password set, or I don't know, they have native email set up. But you just want to know that they're not in compliance because it's a policy you're not implementing yet, you can have it report to you. But with conditional access, if you set those, it's like it's brute force.
Gotcha. So to recap, conditional access is like they have to, they're either compliant or they're not compliant. And if they're not compliant, it's going to force that compliance. Whereas device compliance allows for a bit more granularity, where it can be more of just a reporting thing. And you can kind of choose even which things you enforce and which things you just report on. Is that correct?
So for conditional access, it's not necessarily like forcing compliance. It's does not allow, like must meet these criteria to access this material. And if they don't meet the criteria, they do not get access.
And the material is the Microsoft Office applications, right?
You can control several things with conditional access. It can be set up for like logging in as an admin. It's kind of like Okta, you know how you log in and you have to do your passcode, your password, and then you have to do your code. It serves like that, and that's the nice thing. That is one nice thing about Microsoft, is like that's built in. Their security is built into the platform, but it does require a specific license. So if you have P3 licenses, which I believe are online only, it doesn't work. So depending on what's included with what package you have will determine what you can do with it. But it
Yeah,
is a nice feature.
cool. And then device compliance can be just compliance reporting, but you also can force those things. Is that correct?
Um, it's not necessarily forcing them. It's more like you just quarantine them.
Okay.
Yeah. It follows the same systems, like settings, like security, privacy settings that, Jamf would, but Jamf actually has more ability than other MDMs. As far as like macOS and Apple OS go, like they have more granular control options. That is something that I noticed working with them. Um, so there might be stuff missing in
Oh, I
it.
guess the one thing you can do that I saw, although I don't know if many companies will ever use this, but if something's out of compliant, you can remotely lock the non-compliant device. And I did test this out. And what it will do is it'll send a lock command, which is a firmware lock to the
Right.
device, and set a random passcode. So
Oh, that's nice.
it's nice, but like, I don't know, you're in an organization with 1,000, like a corporate organization with 1,000 devices, everyone's doing their job, and then one person falls out of compliance for some reason. All of a sudden, they have a firmware lock on their computer, which may have come in the middle of a Zoom meeting or something, and they have no clue how to get out of it. They have to call the help desk,
Right.
and someone with access to Microsoft Intune will have to give them that 6-digit passcode to get into their computer. And then I guess I don't know what happens from there. Like, how long can they be in their computer before, maybe I should test that out, because it's like, all right, you need to I don't know what it is. Maybe set your screensaver to come on after 15 minutes so that
Mm-hmm.
it goes
A
into,
timeout setting.
yeah, yeah. How much time do you have before it locks it again? Because it's going to be non-compliant. Like, will you get stuck in a loop? I don't know. It seems like a pretty heavy hammer to come down on someone with putting a remote lock on their computer and literally making their computer inaccessible.
I can think of a couple use cases coming out of my previous role. But yes, if that's the only option for locking the device, that is a little bit cumbersome because, as you said, somebody is going to have access to the console.
Yeah.
Such as more admin licenses that you need. Those are not free included.
Yeah. Okay. We've gone through a lot of these questions. One of my other big questions I had was about the line of business app and how that kind of worked and is different from just a basic macOS package.
If my memory serves me correctly, it is not any different. It's the same, like they have just proprietary terms, but I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, so if you go to apps and then macOS and then go to add, you can add either a PKG, which is what I've been doing for most of the stuff I add, or you can do a line of business app. And they say you can upload for macOS a PKG.
But it must be signed using a developer ID certificate or installer certificate.
Oh, so these need to be
signed.
Just need to be signed. They also talk about validating your applications using test-based for Microsoft 365. And I'm not sure how test-based works. So this is more for like a custom in-house, to add a custom or in-house app. So this should be an app that you're creating.
Right.
It necessarily like Zoom or Chrome or Firefox.
Correct. Yeah. That's the criteria. Line of business is like an internal, like your line of business.
This makes sense. Yeah, and this sounds like it's probably more useful for do you need so for iOS, this is like an in-house app through Jamf Pro, where you're uploading an IPA file. And I know in order to do that, there's some pretty stringent requirements because you need to be in the enterprise Apple developer account, which is really hard to get into. And I think they're maybe deprecating it at some point because how you should be doing it most of the time is through a custom app, which you can do through Apple Business Manager. But I've never heard of this for macOS. And I'm wondering if you also need an enterprise Apple developer account because you can get an Apple developer account.
Right.
We have an Apple developer account. It's very easy to set up an Apple developer account. You basically just need to pay $100 a year.
Right.
That Apple enterprise developer account, though, is very hard to get. You have to be a company of a certain size, over 100 employees, and you need to fill out a ton of paperwork and stuff like that.
Right.
Rocket Man will never be in that program. It's way too hard to get into. I tried to get into it too, and it was very difficult. But do you know if it requires enterprise Apple developer account or if it just
I don't believe so. It just says an Apple developer account. Also, I found some documentation on how to add an unmanaged macOS PKG app to Intune. So you don't necessarily have to sign it. I don't. Unsigned packages are able to be deployed.
But this is meant for in-house apps. It's not meant.
Correct. Yeah. This is meant for like I built out a custom POS app that I want, and I want to send it to my.
I guess what's the point? And maybe this is built more for iOS, Windows, and Android. But what's the point of going through all this work over simply just deploying a PKG?
It's the same thing. I mean, so there's the other option, the unsigned one is that. I don't know what important considerations for deploying PKG apps. The unmanaged PKG app type can install the following PKG apps: non-flat packages with a higher height. Oh, I'm not even going to try right now. Structure component packages, unsigned packages, packages without a payload, packages that will install apps outside of the applications directory, custom packages with scripts. Set up the app info program. Trying to see if there's any special requirements.
Yeah, I'm going to view these two side by side just to see.
The device does not need it.
PKG versus a line of business app. The difference is. So, all right, let me share my screen again. Okay, so this is the one for the line of business app. It's gonna add for a couple things like minimum OS version, install as managed. I entered the bundle identifier and the app version, which it was able to pull out of this global protect app. If I go to this one, I have to enter a publisher name, and then I just enter some notes. So it's not doing the rest of this stuff where it's pulling out like an app version and stuff like that. I guess my question is because it's pulling out app versions and stuff like this, is there any additional functionality with like patch management or something that's built into this line of business app?
That's a great question. Oh my goodness.
I've got all the heavy hitting questions.
Except the line of business app. What is a for the line of business app? If the app is targeted with required intent and admin object content, the app install will be attempted every 24 hours. It doesn't even break down the differences. Other apps line of business. It doesn't specify.
Yeah, this is a lot of what I'm finding out with Intune. It's like it's
Yeah.
not super clear all the time.
The
And I'm
irony
wondering,
of the training for my position was like, this is what I was like. They gave me a Excel sheet with the links to this exact website to read as my training for 3 weeks.
yeah.
So this is what they use, like this documentation. It's free to everybody and it has all the information. It's decent enough when you know how to navigate it, but when you go from a very like simple logical GUI to something that has things 50 million different places, I'm glad to see that they're putting things in multiple places now. But they have too many things like broken out granularly with
Yeah.
no clarification on what. Yeah,
Cool.
I know. Intune has its ups, it has its positives, like I said, it's included. But I implore anybody wanting to use Intune to do a POC, because there's a lot of things that more rich environments, especially ones with like Android, rugged devices, that they're not able to do. And I know that that isn't in the purview, but with Jamf, but it matters. And in a lot of most places don't just have Apple devices. And if they do, normally, they're in Jamf. But when you're looking at your whole enterprise, there's a lot. And Intune can seem like the one-stop shop for all of that stuff, but you definitely have to try, because I know a company that I left 3 years ago still trying to get into Intune to this day. Like migrate for.
Migrated to Intune?
Yes, from Workspace ONE. They had to extend the contract. A previous company me and Latonya worked for. So yeah, it's really hard. And I see people all the time, like I see job listings that say migration from Jamf to Intune or from Workspace ONE to Intune. And I just like, why? That's always my question. Why? What is it worth? Try just like the basic criteria and see what it does for you and how long it takes, because basics might work quickly, but once you have a cumbersome system, it's a lot. it is a lot, and the load balancing is not where other places are, unless they've changed things.
Yeah. And I'm still, even after we've reset up FileVault, it's still not working.
It's still not enabling.
No, I'm getting this. Yeah, I just get this pop-up all the time when I'm logged in. That's like FTE setup is trying
And then
to,
nothing happens.
yeah, let me just check it again. Just see. Yep, still not turned on. Trying to, I have this screenshot somewhere. Okay, here it is. Maybe see if you have seen this ever. So this is what's coming up when I try to just on my computer, and this is when I'm logged in. I didn't get it when I was logging out or
Logging
logged
in.
in computer, which is normally where I see it. And I didn't get it through the setup assistant, which I also set up to be able to do. But I just keep getting this FTE setup would like to enable FileVault. And I click OK, and it doesn't do anything. I'm wondering if this is like a recent product issue or bug that they have. Because I'm like, don't understand how else to set this up.
Was set to use individual recovery key, but
Yeah, because
okay.
we've set up this FileVault profile. Oh, it has a conflict. So maybe it's not.
Yeah, it says that. I think it's like if you set the recovery key and it can't find it. So like if it's set to personal, but there's no key on there, or
Maybe I'm gonna delete this one because I was thinking this might be the conflict, and this one's having an error. Okay. Or I'll just take it out of the scope assignments. I was trying to deploy this one through the setup assistant.
oh, it's saying the error means that FDE setup was set to an individual recovery key, but FDE setup found a file vault master.keychain file in library/keychains. So it's saying to delete that if it's already there, because it won't get it if there's a key in there that is like a previous key.
But yeah, I just wiped this computer and reset it. So I think if anything was doing that, it would have been this profile.
Okay.
So if I look at this, I mean, this is all we were doing was enabling it. But
no, it was under remember they had the other one you had to set up too.
yep. So that's this file vault one that I set up. This one's the one that has the conflict.
Personal will be generated for the device during encryption.
Yeah.
Enable file vault person. Recovery key is generated for the device during encryption, and the following settings that apply to that key: escrow location. I don't choose to. Okay. After encryption, use your skin. View the key.
I'm gonna try just removing that other profile and wiping the computer and seeing if this works the next time.
Okay.
My thought was because it was coming up as a conflict that it actually wasn't deploying this profile. Well, now it's coming up with an error. So
It probably isn't. Yeah, no, it's Oh,
So I
wait.
can, so okay, just to try this out, if I delete a file on this computer, this might work.
The, hold on, let me go back to it. It is under library keychains. It's the FileVault master dot keychain.
Okay, so I'm in library keychains. There's no file vault master.keychain.
Nope.
Yeah, system.keychain, apsd.keychain, system-keychain -2, system-keychain -2 dbshm, system-keychain -2 .db-wal. Yeah, there's no file vault anything here. I don't know why there would be. I haven't done anything on this computer yet, so.
Did it have a number on it, the error?
Huh? How do I look that up again?
I meant in the screenshot.
Which, oh, the screenshot that I have?
Yeah, did it have one?
Well, that doesn't have an, that's not an error. That just says FD
Oh, yeah,
selected.
yeah, okay. Sorry, I forgot it didn't give you, it just doesn't do it.
Yeah, so this has an error. I can look up this error number, right? But I forget how. Maybe if I go to the device.
Um, Under, whoa, my eyes. Configuration. This is,
On the device, or are we talking
yeah,
about
device configuration.
device configuration?
And what
This,
happens if you click on the, yeah, does it just pull up the policy?
oh, there we go. Got an error code. I can Google that, which doesn't show anything.
Is it the minus maybe? That's, I don't know. Known as you. Hmm.
It's not configured the number of times.
This is from 2019. If they haven't fixed that by now, that's crazy.
Well, I can try it. Yeah.
Five years later.
The number of, yeah, the thing is, I don't have a recovery key type. I don't know. This is, I think there's a level of troubleshooting that I'm not really willing to do for a review.
Yeah, I understand.
This should be, this should be pretty straightforward.
9 times out of 10, I had to have support work with my customers for something at some point.
Point protection. Yeah, I guess I can just try changing those things. Nope, this isn't the one. So macOS configuration. Just want to do file vault. Huh, now the error is no longer there. But say one. Right. And sometime in the next 24 hours, that'll be
Yep.
updated.
Sometime in the next 24 hours, you should receive that policy.
Or maybe I'll just wipe my computer to get it to work. Okay. Yeah, we've done a lot of talking around in circles, doing a little bit of troubleshooting, trying to figure this stuff out. But that's kind of the point of this. I know we're 11 minutes over our time already. Is there anything else you kind of wanted to talk about though with Microsoft Intune?
Um, I don't know. I think it's a product. It's a product that will get a job done, if needed. But I think my heart and preference will always be with Jamf. I do love their ability to support Windows out of the box, but I think that, they really need to take time and dive better into the features for mobile. It's very lackluster. And
Yeah, and today we really just talked about the macOS side. We haven't even
yeah,
talked about mobile. I don't know if I'll cover mobile on this
it's just as
review.
cumbersome.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole different other topic to talk about. Maybe I'll just create another review video for mobile because at this point I've invested all the time just in macOS.
I know, yeah. I mean, I macOS is Intune is the last MDM I would think to put macOS in.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. Their bread and butter is Windows, and they do that beautifully. Their conditional access and their MAM policies are also amazing. Like, you can set it to not be able to screenshot. There's all kinds. You can set it not to be able to copy. The devices don't have to be fully managed in order to do those things. And you can enforce those policies while using another MDM. So there are features inside of Microsoft Intune that you could take advantage of included and still use another MDM and be happy.
Exactly, yeah. Like that device compliance and stuff like that.
I think they should focus on either, integration, like focus on their intra and all of that integration into new MDMs, or put some more time into other devices, other OS device classes, because Mac and iOS and Android are all a struggle. And the only easy thing to set up is a Windows computer.
Yeah.
And the irony in that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Windows being simpler. Yeah, no, that's really all I had. It's a
Cool.
platform.
Well, thanks so much for being part of this interview.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Super helpful as we're diving in and struggling to figure out Intune.